Good morning on this Monday, November 29th, 2021. Welcome to another edition of the National Newspaper Publishers Association's Let It Be Known. Hopefully everyone had a safe weekend, as this morning we discuss politics gone mad, and some say racist, given the diatribe from Republican Colorado Congresswoman Lauren Boebert against Democratic Minnesota Congresswoman Ilhan Omar. This morning, we will discuss that with Congressman Ron Reynolds out of Texas. But first, we'll go through the morning headlines. The virus, a new variant of the coronavirus, has the world on edge. Dutch health officials found at least 13 cases of the Omicron coronavirus variant among 61 infected passengers who had arrived in the Netherlands on Friday, the country's health administrator said yesterday. Additional cases could emerge as health officials were still examining test samples. The 61 infected passengers were among more than 500 who arrived on 2 flights, a clear sign that the virus was crossing borders even as governments imposed new travel restrictions and flight bans. A growing list of countries, including Germany and Great Britain, are scrambling to respond to the new, highly mutated version of the virus, which was first detected reportedly in South Africa. But South African officials say, wait a minute, we're the ones that are ahead of this. So a lot of confusion as to where that information is coming from, where that virus is coming from. But South African officials are saying this morning that we have been ahead of this. And also, they note that among the vaccinated population in South Africa, there has been no cases of this new variant of the coronavirus. In New York, Governor Kathy Hochul has declared already a state of emergency ahead of potential COVID-19 spikes this winter due to the already circulating Delta and now this Omicron variant. She's trying to get ahead of it. That declaration goes into effect on December 3rd, and it will allow the state to acquire pandemic fighting supplies, increase hospital capacity, and fight potential staffing shortage. She says we continue to see warning signs of spikes this upcoming winter. And while the new Omicron variant has yet to be detected in New York State, Hochul says it is coming. Also coming this morning, right now, is the president and CEO of the National Newspaper Publishers Association, Dr. Benjamin F. Chavis Jr. Good morning, Dr. Chavis.
Good morning, Stacey Brown. And on behalf of the National Newspaper Publishers Association, NNPA, Karen Carter Richards, our distinguished chair, publisher of the Forward Times in Houston, Texas, and all of the 230 African-American owned newspapers and media companies across America, good to start this week off with Let It Be Known.
Yeah, Dr. Chavis, this morning, the men convicted of killing Ahmaud Arbery are not the only ones facing prison time for the February 2020 murder. Former Georgia District Attorney Jackie Johnson was arrested for her role in delaying justice for Ahmaud Arbery, who was chased and killed while running through a mostly white neighborhood near New Brunswick, Georgia. According to a grand jury indictment, Johnson violated her oath by showing favor and affection to Gregory McMichael and failing to treat Arbery and his family fairly and with dignity. It also said, the indictment also said, she obstructed police by directing that Travis McMichael should not be placed under arrest. Johnson also lost her re-election bid last November because of the Arbery case. It took more than 2 months after Arbery's murder for arrest to be made. His family and supporters have called for Johnson to be penalized for what she did. Lee Merritt, the attorney for the Arbery family, says she should spend time in prison. Her actions are not just acts of negligence, but she actively worked to cover up the murder. Remember, Dr. Chavis, after 4 prosecution recusals or removals, Cobb County prosecutor Linda Dunikowski led the prosecution that ultimately led to last week's conviction of the 3 men who killed Ahmaud Arbery. They each face life in prison when they are sentenced, and each also face a federal trial in February. So there is a huge chance that they will indeed spend the rest of their lives in prison. And for some of that time, former prosecutor Johnson may join them.
Absolutely. It shows you how systematic the racism was in that county and in the criminal justice system. So this should serve as not just as a warning, but a lesson to all prosecutors across America, to all judges, to all police people, to treat everybody fairly. The Arbery case exposes how deep-seated racism is in American criminal justice. And thank God, well, with the great attorneys and the works that it turned out, and the jury, we must also say that this also marks a semblance of how justice should look at going forward, where predominant white juries will convict white perpetrators of violence against Black people. In the past, that has never happened. So this is hopefully a trend will start with this case. So yes, and then the federal trial, the hate crimes, also will also expose more opportunities for Black people and other people of color to get more justice out of the judicial system.
Yeah, absolutely. This morning, we have a special guest this morning to talk about a topic that really needs attention. Politics gone mad. Even perhaps in some words, by some folks, politics have gone totally racist. Let's bring on Texas Rep. Ron Reynolds to discuss the latest and what's going on in the world of politics. Good morning, Representative Reynolds.
Good morning, Stacy. Good morning, Ben. And I see now my colleague and constituent. I was going to say mayor, but council member Jeffrey Ilhan. I might be speaking something down the road, but it's great to be here. It's great to see you guys right after the holiday. Hopefully, everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving, and I'm really glad to be back on the show.
Welcome to the show, and Jeff, it's good to see you.
It's good to see you, Jeff. I wasn't expecting you this morning.
Oh man, hey, listen, man, I pop up, man. I'm like a magician, man. I'm like.
Well, you keep working your magic with your pen and with what you're doing in Missouri City. We appreciate you very much. But let's get to the topic this morning, gentlemen. They call it Islamicphobic remarks, and they certainly were by Lauren Boebert, the Congresswoman out of Colorado. They are no laughing matter. And Ilhan Omar, who was who her remarks were directed to, said the same, that this was no laughing matter. She demanded action from congressional leaders after the Republican said she was sorry. She says, Ilhan Omar says, I am a suicide bomber is no laughing matter. House Republican leader Kevin McCarthy and Speaker Nancy Pelosi need to take appropriate action. Normalizing this bigotry not only endangers my life, but the lives of all Muslims. Anti-Muslim bigotry has no place in Congress. Representative Reynolds, Jeff, we know the Congresswoman out of Colorado, the Republican Congresswoman, made those remarks. And in fact, what was interesting about her making those remarks, she if you missed it, the remarks were that she got into an elevator at the Capitol and saw Ilhan Omar, and she, before getting in, her and a security officer there checked to make sure that Ilhan Omar, well, she didn't have a backpack, so it must be safe. It was really hideous. Your first thoughts when you heard the remarks, Representative Reynolds?
Well, first of all, Maya Angelou said it this way: when people show you who they are, believe them the first time. Even though she made a contrite apology, her actions and her words spoke volumes about who she was: Islamophobic, racist, a bigot. Those comments were unfounded. There was no joke about it. There was no laughing matter. She did this. This is the post-Trump era. No longer are we really doing dog whistles and hiding behind racist comments. We're out front, right? She knew that this was going to be picked up. She knew that this was an incendiary comment, but she was bold enough in this pro-Trump era to say it, right? And so what I believe is that we have to support Congresswoman Umar, and the House has to take appropriate measures so that people don't continue to do this with no retribution. She should be stripped of her committee assignments. She should be censured, and we should, as members, they should, as members of Congress, take this very seriously, because what kind of message do we continue to send that it's okay to gaslight? It's okay to continue to make incendiary comments about people's religion. We already know that we live in a society where people are judged because of their hijabs or because of their being Muslims based on comments ever since 9/11. And so that was very irresponsible. And I think that there needs to be appropriate action taken. I was disgusted, but I wasn't surprised. This is the post-Trump era where, Marjorie Taylor Greens of the world is common. In fact, I would suspect that she probably got some fundraising out of it, because the racists know that she's one of us. So she's probably gotten an influx of campaign cash from races across the country because of her comments. So this is the new normal, and it disgusts me. And politics has gone wrong. We need more statesmen to be holding public office, not more racist and Islamophobic people like we just saw with her comments.
Yeah, Jeffrey Boney, the associate editor of the Houston Forward Times, part of what she said too, she says, "Oh, look, the Jihad Squad," when she saw Ilhan Omar. But what was interesting, Jeff, I thought, was Ilhan Omar saying that, first of all, although Lauren Boebert said this, it never happened. In fact, Ilhan Omar said that she's almost afraid to look her in the eye when they cross paths. This is just as it seems like, as Ron Reynolds, the representative in Texas there with you, Jeff, this is gaslighting, right?
Well, absolutely, man. I mean, I would, first of all, I concur with everything Representative Reynolds stated. And I would add, though, that in not trying to be corrective, that this is not a post-Trump, era. This is a current Trump era. If you look at polling numbers, and his potential of running for 2024 president again, you'll see that, people are still beholden to Donald J. Trump. And he has tremendous popularity across the United States. So to hear these types of incendiary comments and remarks from a representative, and it's not the first representative that made comments like this. She's just one of many across the country, whether at the federal level, state level, county level, and local level. And so this is very, very unfortunate that these types of remarks, especially to someone of the Muslim faith, who are here, just like African Americans. Of course, if anybody knows about having these types of remarks made about them, that would, as Representative Reynolds talked about gaslighting, a situation Black people know. And to add fuel to the fire, you see that when you're wearing a hijab, or if you are a member of the Muslim faith or Muslim community, because there are Muslims that are Christians as well. But there are individuals who are from Muslim countries, should I say, that are Christians as well. It's just unfortunate, because you start to group individuals together, stoking fear. It goes back to, the whole Osama bin Laden, situation, where whenever Republicans would seek re-election, particularly during presidential campaigns, they would always roll out Osama bin Laden as if he was the boogeyman, right? And so they would use that as a means to try to stoke fear into their base, to try to get people out to say, hey, look, if you want to remain safe, if you want to remain safe in America, then we need to continue to allow Republicans to remain in office, because we protect you from those hideous Muslims, or those individuals that, could be just like Osama bin Laden and don't care about your life. And so I think that it adds that type of vitriol in this country. And of course, it continue to remove the Band-Aid, and I do say Band-Aid, from the big wound and tremendous wound of racism that has been here since inception.
Yes, Ilhan Omar referred to Congresswoman Boebert as a buffoon. One on the other side, Dr. Chavis, one unnamed congressperson did speak out. He kept his identity secret, but in response to how politics have gone mad, he's described himself as a moderate. He said House Republicans should send a warning shot. This should send a warning shot to House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy as he caters to his right flank in a quest for the speaker's gavel. He's taken the middle of the conference for granted. This unnamed GOP lawmaker said he spoke on the condition of anonymity. He wanted to discuss what was going on inside what was going on internally with the Republican conference. He says McCarthy could have a bigger math problem with the moderates. Specifically, the lawmaker said a number of moderates are upset with how McCarthy, who represents California, has embraced some of the extremists in the GOP conference and warned that it could hurt the party in swing districts and undermine their chances of winning back the majority. You know, Dr. Chavis, again, McCarthy has promised to reinstate Paul Gosar. We know the representative out of Arizona who made that horrible, hideous, life-threatening video toward Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the Congresswoman out of New York, and Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia. He said he's going to reinstate them to committees if the GOP wins back the House. She's doing something else, Dr. Chavis.
Well, I think the GOP is divided. But I think what Jeff said is correct. I think that the GOP is symptomatic of a deeper problem of racism in America. And I think they developed these different dog whistles, these different things, even after the congressman was censored by the United States Congress. He reposted the same video. So these people don't care. They don't change. They don't repent. They're not sorrowful. They're going to press forward. We're coming up on the anniversary of the insurrection last year, of attempted coup last year on January the 6th. And the committee is at work, and now we're finding out how extensive the planning was. There were members of Congress, now we know, helping to plan the overthrow of the government. So there are a lot of people who are going to wind up, I think, going to jail because of their hideous crimes against democracy. But I think what I would like to, just for Representative Reynolds to comment on is that, you know, Senator Ted Cruz is out now also criticizing the Biden-Harris administration about the Omicron, saying it's just a Democratic ploy. It seems to me that a lot of these far extremists, it's just not in the Congress, but far extremists in some of the state legislatures, some of the state situations where voter suppression. I just think 2022 is going to be a year that the black vote again is going to be so critical, not only in Texas, Florida, Georgia, all these states. And that's what we have to be paying attention to in the black press. We got to make sure that we don't let a lot of these tactics by the Republicans make us kind of, accept a forecast that, yes, the Republicans are going to take over the House, they're going to take over the Senate, and in 2024, they're going to retake the White House. Now, we all know that's their plan, but our job is to make sure that that doesn't happen. How is GOTV, black voter turnout, look in Texas going forward, Representative Reynolds?
Well, Dr. Chavis, I think your points are well taken. I totally agree. The black vote is going to be extremely pivotal to anyone's success. And we cannot sit this one out. We cannot be on the sidelines. We have to be in the arena, on the field of voting. We can't be armchair quarterbacks criticizing people. If you're not a part of the solution, which is voting, then you're part of the problem.
Right.
Because elections matter. And we're seeing that over and over again. African Americans need to get galvanized and vote our values. We need to interchannel that same excitement when we went out in record numbers back in 2008 to make history and elect President Barack Obama. This is a midterm election where traditionally we go back to sleep. We're do more complaining than we do anything, but this is the time to act.
Right.
And we need to make sure that Black politicians and politicians in general, public servants, support the Black press. Jeff knows this is a message that I say over and over again. We need to support the Black press, through print, through through radio, and in every form. We can't just rely upon some of the other outlets. We need to support our Black press, because you all are the ones that's getting the information out without fear or favor. You're the ones that are on the front line, the local Forward Times, the local community papers all around the country. And so what I'm going to be doing is making sure that my colleagues are out front, even those who are unopposed. It's not just about you. The stakes couldn't be higher when it comes to voter suppression, when it comes to issues that impact our communities, and access to affordable health care and climate and criminal justice reforms have taken a back seat. We were happy about the recent decision in Georgia, but look at what happened in the Kyle Rittenhouse case. Look at what happens every day to unarmed Black men. So we can't go back to accepting these things. We have to vote our values, and that is why 2022 is going to be one of the most pivotal elections of our lifetime. Because guess what? Let me just say this: if Republicans take back control of the House, and it's likely that they could in the Senate, they're going to make Biden's job even more difficult during his final 2 years. They're going to make sure that they block every Supreme Court potential or judicial federal nominee that he wants on the bench. They're going to do everything they can to stifle any kind of progress. So we got to get out in record numbers, and we have to vote our values, because we're at a crisis point in our country.
Jeff, let me ask you a question. I always make this analogy. I'm born and raised in New York. I lived in Los Angeles for about 7 years, and the difference for me was what I found, and this is just my personal experience, and you'll see where I'm going with this. When I was in, the difference for me, I always said, was that in Los Angeles, you just don't know where people are coming from. In New York, if someone hated you, you knew they hated you. If they liked you, you knew they liked you. You didn't know that in Los Angeles. We know that the Republicans, many Republicans, I should say, have shown their hand, shown them to be not favorable toward minorities. In fact, we've seen some, just, if you want to be blunt, some just outright Lauren Boebert, Marjorie Taylor Greene, outright racist, right? But isn't it true that you find that on the Democratic side as well? And isn't it better that you know the enemy, you know who is what?
Listen, man, I mean, a racist is a racist. I don't want to not know who they are, and hell, I don't want to know who they are. I just don't want you to be a racist. I want you to treat me equal and just leave me the hell alone. Because of the color of my skin, or because of my religion, or whatever the case may be. So, I understand what you're saying about the devil that you do know. But at the same time, those that I don't know, that pretend to be my friend, or pretend to respect me or like me because of the color of my skin. I don't really care whether I know them or don't know them. I don't want them to be racist. But I wanted to piggyback on something that was asked earlier about the Black voter turnout. I'm really getting sick and tired of Black people always having to carry the water for everything that happens in this country, whether local, county, state, or federal. We get out and vote. We do make a difference. We make an impact. We come up and show up to the polls, and we make an impact. There would be several individuals that wouldn't be in office, including Biden, if it wasn't for Black people, particularly Black women, showing up to the polls. But the thing is, when we get Democrats in office, and we got to keep them in office, of course, we definitely don't want to go backwards, but we need them to deliver. Look at what's happening in the United States Senate right now. The House has been delivering. I'll give it to the House. They've been delivering. But you have two individuals that, once the Democrats controlled the Senate, have failed on many arenas. You got the John Lewis bill that is dead. You have the For the People Act that is dead. You have the George Floyd bill that is dead. You have the Build Back Better plan that is dead. And then other scale down, the infrastructure bill and other things that got scaled back and scaled down, as well as other things. Even the American Rescue Plan, they got scaled back and down because of those two quote unquote Democrats. So we need to make sure that, you know, we elect individuals and hold them accountable, but understand that there are a lot of African Americans that are getting frustrated, that are getting tired, and they need you know, Black people to be at the forefront of the decision making, and not just everybody else, because it seems like everybody else gets what they need and gets what they want, but we get the short end of the stick, even though we step up and we deliver on a consistent basis.
Yeah, Dr. Chavis, I know we're running out of time. I'll throw it to you on that too. Jeff makes a point there. Does the Biden-Harris administration, does the Democrats in general understand that African Americans are getting frustrated?
I think they understand it. The question is how they handle it. And I think that we have a right to express our disappointment, our anger, our frustration, but also we can't throw our hands up. You know, frustration can lead to alienation. I think that we have to stay engaged. We have to keep put pressure on. And at the end of the day, I think that the Democratic Party is not going to turn its back on Black America. If the Democratic Party turns its back on Black America, then the Democratic Party loses. I think they know that. But now it's a question now of how to move forward. I think all the plans for 2022, I think they need to relook at all these plans, all the budgets that have been allocated to get out the vote. The worst thing that could happen now is for the Democratic Party to take the Black vote for granted. Do not take the Black vote for granted. Do not take the Black press for granted. Do not take Black businesses for granted. Do not take Black elected officials for granted. I think we all have to pull together. So I am much more not just optimistic, but I see this as a ground where I think the progressives and the moderates, the Democrats within the Democratic Party, the Latinos, the African Americans, we all have to work together. No one entity, no one group is going to win. We need a coalition of like minds, a coalition of like interests to push forward. I think if we build the right coalition, we can 2022 can be another successful year for our coalition rather than a year of defeat.
Dr. Chavis, of course, thanks for the commentary. Jeffrey Boney, Houston Forward Times, we always appreciate you. Look forward to having you on more. And certainly, Representative Ron Reynolds, we certainly appreciate you. And hopefully we can steal more of your time as the days and weeks and months go forward. The NMPA's Midwinter Training Conference kicks off in January on the 19th. We'll be at the Diplomat Beach Resort in Hollywood, Florida. What a beautiful hotel and resort that we are going to be at to finally be together again after a couple of years of this pandemic. But the theme is the publishing industry advancing the Black press of America, reaffirming, engaging, and empowering. Visit www.nmpa/events.com to register and reserve your hotel rooms. You will get a great rate, an NMPA discounted rate, if you register and reserve your room by December 12th. We look forward to seeing you all in beautiful Hollywood, Florida for the NMPA's Midwinter Conference. Our Black fact of the day: as the 19th century came to an end and segregation took ever stronger hold in the South, many African Americans saw self-improvement, especially through education, as the single greatest opportunity to escape the indignities they suffered. Many Black people looked to Booker T. Washington, the author of the best-selling Up from Slavery, as an inspiration. As president of Alabama's Tuskegee Normal and Industrial Institute, Washington urged Black Americans to acquire the kind of industrial or vocational training, such as farming, mechanics, and domestic service, that would give them the necessary skills to carve out a niche for themselves in the U.S. economy. George Washington Carver, another formerly enslaved man and the head of Tuskegee's Agriculture Department, helped liberate the South from its reliance on cotton by convincing farmers to plant peanuts, soybeans, and sweet potatoes in order to rejuvenate the exhausted soil. By 1940, peanuts had become the second cash crop in the South. That's our Black Fact of the Day. Thank you so much for joining us. We will see you tomorrow.